Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm your host, Stephen Billings. And with me, as always, is your other host, Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. Doing about as well as you can do on a Monday evening in the middle of September during a rainstorm. Massive amounts of rain this year, this entire summer season in the Northeast corridor. Just massive flooding and thunderstorms and all that kind of stuff.
I know that puts you on edge being
It does put me on edge because as many people, I can admit, perhaps listeners and people just in general, a lot of my most precious prized possessions are in my basement, and basements flood. That seems to be the first thing that happens. And I've had flooding issues here before in the past, many, many years ago, about over a decade ago when we had massive flooding, and the basement did flood once upon a time. I've got things on shelves, but still, you never know.
It's got to come. It's got to pour down.
Got to come somewhere.
Yeah.
It comes through the walls, so I'm technically underground. So that always puts me on edge. Literally my comic books, my movies, everything is around me, including, the whole entertainment system with speakers and such.
I'm surprised you haven't, did the whole put all my movies in plastic thing.
You know what's interesting is I see a lot of people who do that, and they do that for dust reasons, which I guess makes a lot of sense because it happens to me and it happens to many people. The shelves get dusty fast.
Oh yeah,
they get dusty really, really fast, and it's hard to keep up with. Constantly dusting or use. Some people like to use the compressed air in the cans to do that.
Yeah.
But when you have like thousands of movies, man, it's time consuming.
Yeah.
To do all that,
you got to be in love with your movies, man. You can't just leave them around.
That's very true. Sometimes I do get the feeling I don't want to touch them because I don't want to screw anything up. It's almost like,
come on, man.
Yeah,
you have to touch them.
I know.
Watch
I don't want them to be mangled in any way, like dropped, broken. Almost sound like I'm treating you like a child.
Jesus Christ, dude. It'll be okay. We bought them for a reason to watch them. Speaking of watching movies that we buy, I want to go ahead and say we're bringing Unwatched Pile. We missed last month, but this month we will have Unwatched Pile back. We're going to have a friend been on the show before. Douglas McHenridge is going to be coming on the Unwatched Pile, so watch for that next week, Wednesday, the 27th.
Yes.
So mark that on your calendars. We will be live as we always do with that show. So come in, join in on the chat, see what our first-time watches are and what we pair them with.
Yes, and now I have the ultimate challenge of picking out a movie to watch.
Yeah.
And then a movie to pair it with. That's always the extra kicker.
That's my favorite part is the pairing. Yes.
So
I know the first time watch should be the fun part, but I there's something about like
the pairing.
Yeah, the pairing, like the getting excited about, what did this remind me of? That I like that stuff. It makes me think about
had Doug
on
as a
whole.
We had Doug on as a guest back on episode 34.
Yeah, so it's been a while.
Yeah, so it has been a rather long time. He was from the Good Times, Great Movies podcast.
Yes.
For those of you who are wondering, any bells kind of ringing in your head about where he's from. So that's where he's from. Episode 34. It's been a long time. It's been a long, long time.
Well, we'll have him back and
we'll get an update on what's been going on with him first and foremost, and then we'll dive into our usual Unwatched format, really.
Yeah, and speaking of previous guests and friends of the show, one of our dear friends, Ryan Farrell, we want to go ahead and congratulate him. He recently just announced this week that he has a new production that he started in creating bonus features for discs. It's called Someone's Favorite Productions. And he's teamed up with his longtime collaborator now, Will Dotson over there, Dr. Will Dotson, and they're going to be doing bonus features. So watch out for announcements from the Disconnected on their first works out there. I think that's amazing that Ryan has made the connections he's made, and he's got that passion and that drive, and now he's so he just like all of us here, we're such fans of this stuff, and now he's becoming a part of it. He's putting in the work, and now he's being able to take his cinephilia and display it on actual Blu-rays now. It's going to be awesome to see. I can't wait to get the first disc that him and Will are doing features for. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's kind of nice that we have like this direct pipeline to someone who will be doing that type of work, so we get more information on how it's all done, the ins and outs, and the,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, just the way the way the sausage is made, as they say, or the
Sausage.
way, yeah, you know how they say like
Do they say
it's
sausage?
like a phrase, isn't it?
It is, but I
Yeah,
didn't know sausage was the food. I thought it was maybe like the bacon. I thought it
I
was bacon.
guess
I don't know. I guess
some type of process,
it's
some
pork.
type of process.
It's pork. Um, but
Yes,
yes, yeah, we
yeah.
just
So
wanted to.
there's a whole big introduction on his Facebook page from a couple of days ago, which I don't think we need to read the whole thing because Stephen kind of
Yeah,
just
you
summed it
go
up.
there and watch the video, and he'll explain everything. He of course is going to have other collaborators with him
Yes.
that have already been in the field for a while. And I think he's also starting another podcast. Which once again, I don't know how he does all this stuff. I think
Mm,
he's created some type of duplication machine, like the Fly. Or not the Fly. That's a transporting machine that goes wrong. But I think he's duplicated himself. Maybe okay,
nice.
multiplicity. He created another version of himself, and he's able to do multiple things because there's multiple versions of him, literally. So I think that's what's going on.
Yeah. See,
Um,
so yeah, so the podcast is going to be hosted by him, Ryan, and Howard S. Berger. And it's going to be called Cinetrauma.
yeah,
Cinetrauma showcases interviews that discuss how a film or films have helped shape individuals' emotional lives. Once this podcast is launched, it will be accompanied by a network of varied podcasts about film and film collecting. More details to come.
yeah,
Yeah, so there's a lot on the horizon with
staying
all of
busy.
that. So
Yeah,
keep your eyes peeled to his social media places, which is the disc connected, and you'll probably hear some more things in coming weeks. I'm very curious what films of which he will be creating special features for, which companies he'll be working with, all of those things. I mean, because we get uh, so much disc and releases and on disc content that's been created by so many different places and people that how many more things can we possibly get? But I guess we will see.
yeah. Always there's a vast yeah. We'll see, but I'm excited for him, man, and yeah, yeah. Can't wait to see what comes. So let's move into our release slate. Of course,
Yes.
always an array of things. This week we got a pretty good amount. We will try to run through them as in time. I don't want to go. Let's not do 3 hours here. Let's do
Okay.
2 hours.
Yeah, it wasn't a large slate last week. Luckily, we waited until Monday, the 18th of September, because we got a little bit of a hint from Criterion themselves that
Yeah,
their slate would be dropping today, their December slate, their last slate of the calendar year, and it did. So we'll be saving that for later. But we do want to play a little bit of catch up here. Speaking of our good buddy Ryan, a couple of weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, maybe about this time, he had Jared Honor on from Mondo Macabro, who we've had on here, and they announced a couple of Mondo Macabro releases
yeah.
exclusively on during that broadcast, and we've got what was it, Curse of the Dog God, what was it, the Death Brigade,
Death Squad.
and
Death Squad.
Death Squad, and the Inferno. I got confused because the alternate title for the Death Squad is Brigade of Death or Brigade de Moor. So
It's just
either way, we
death
got a
is
group of
involved.
guys doing dead things.
Yeah, yeah,
And the Brigade of Death, a crime ring is kidnapping women to sell them to the harems of rich emirs, but the Vice Squad put an end to it.
mm,
So it looks like a mid '80s action film.
yeah,
If I would care to gauge a guess as to what it is.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I'm,
So and
I'm
looks
sure.
like
I'm
they're
sure if
selling
you,
very well.
yeah, I'm sure if you go over and watch this interview, you're going to get the best explanation of these movies by Jared, and so that would be probably the place if you're interested
Yes,
in Mondo
yes. I
titles.
know when Jared was on our podcast, he was very convincing and very descriptive of a lot of Mondo Macabro's releases,
Yeah.
kind of pitching them to us and our audience and
He
selling
got
them
me to
to us.
buy 3 of them.
Yeah, he got Steven to buy 3 of them, and probably others as well.
Yeah.
And he's a good marketer. You know what I mean? They knew what they were doing when they hired him to, I guess, be the
Do
front man to
everything.
selling that stuff. Yes, it is a very two-man job over there, really. But with Jared doing a lot of that, there are again. What are the other releases, Steven? There was the Inferno,
Yeah.
which is another film. And the Inferno is hell manifests itself through the sins, shame, and desires of an upper class rural family and a mother's grief from beyond the grave.
Mm,
That sounds
sounds
fascinating.
serious.
Yeah, that sounds wild to me. Um, it's yeah, that sounds right up Mondo Macabro's alley, in my
Oh, yeah.
opinion. And what was that third film that we talked about? It was the
Curse of
Curse
the
of the
Dog?
Dog God.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see if I can find the Curse of the Dog God. Oh, yeah, here it is. So, in a rural village with a poorly understood but long-standing curse from the Dog God, outsiders from a major Tokyo mining corporation scouting for uranium destroy a small shrine and crush a dog under their jeep wheels. That's
Mm,
harsh.
damn.
After one of the mining company employees marries the daughter of a prominent member of the village, the dog god's wrath boils over and people start to die. The village girl and mining company employees start a new life in Tokyo, but the dog god possesses her and she is deemed mentally ill. The couple returns to the village to perform an exorcism, but it is unsuccessful as the body count accumulates. The house, the cause of and remedy for the curse becomes more opaque. Hmm,
Hmm.
that's a long description of a movie about murder and cursing. Um, it's always those like vengeful demonic entities that always get pissed off and they always come out and try to kill people. That
That's
seems
what
to
they're
be
that's their only purpose.
their thing. I mean, yeah, it's this feels like that was a subgenre of a subgenre in the horror world. So Mondo Macabro is coming up with those 3 titles, and I hear they're selling very fast and very well. So get those while you can if you're interested in them. Go to Mondo Macabro's website. I think that's probably the best place to get them. Um,
Most
yeah.
definitely.
So moving on from there, I want to stick within this kind of horror realm, if you will.
Okay.
And I want to stick with our buddies over at Treasured Films because the film that they are releasing goes in line with the film that we literally just talked about. So this is, I think, their third release, and this is Mausoleum. So Mausoleum is a Section 3 video nasty from the UK, and it's presented here uh, on Blu-ray for the first time, uncut in a rigid slipcase with reproduction German lobby cards and perfect bound booklet crammed with essays. So you get a 4K scan restoration from the 35mm original camera negative. You got new audio commentaries with Kim Newman. You got an archive audio commentary. You got a bunch of stuff here, as well as that booklet, like we said. And I've seen the movie Mausoleum, and it is, like I said, very much in line with the films that we've kind of just talked about. um, Let me get the description up just so people can understand what the heck I'm talking about. Of course, I got to shift through my letterbox to get there. So, oh yeah, traumatized by her mother's death, young Susan is becoming possessed by the same demon that possessed her mother before she died. More, her husband and psychiatrists are noticing the strange changes. So, yeah, the movie opens up with this young girl being traumatized by the death of her mother. I believe she's at like her mother's funeral or something, and now she's going to be raised by her aunt. What we learn is that like there's a curse on this family with this demonic presence, and now it has passed on to her, and it manifests itself like 20 or 30 years later after her mother has passed, and she begins to start being possessed by this demon and start murdering people. And that's what happens. I will say this, the movie's not particularly great, but I think the special effects and the makeup effects, practical makeup effects used for the demon part or the demonic aspects of the film, I thought were were interesting and rather good.
Yeah.
For the time, it's essentially somebody wearing a demonic suit with dripping fake blood and mucus and stuff, and a lot of fog machine going on, but it looked cool for the time. And a lot of random like sex happening in this movie. So essentially she seduces people in the most like uh like cheapishly pornographic 70s ways, and like silly, like over the top,
I
like,
believe you've
"Hey, do
already
you wanna
talked.
go
I believe
upstairs?"
I think we've talked about this movie before. I
Have we?
remember you describing it.
Well, I haven't seen it until now, but
I'm pretty sure we watched it. You watched it when it was announced. I think this was brought up when we talked
was
with
it?
him. I feel like we've talked about this movie before. It sounds very familiar.
I don't remember watching it at all.
Well, you watch
Maybe
like
they had
25
mentioned it?
movies a week, so you
Yeah,
think
they do
you
get jumbled up in the brain sometimes. This week was only a dozen,
yeah.
and that was, you know, unfortunate that I had seen all the Criterion ones beforehand, but I'm just saying it's sometimes they do get jumbled up, but to be honest, when it comes to the horror genre, the repetition of plot lines and the things going on it will jumble your brain. It will
Yeah,
jumble your
yeah.
brain, like, it's the same
No,
plots
I get it.
over and
I get
over
it.
again.
I just
Um,
remember I just feel like I remember you describing this movie and talking about the effects. Like I feel like we've talked about it.
I could very well have, but
Yeah.
anywho, a lot of sexual situations lead to a lot of murders, blood splattering and grotesque things going on. Um, but yeah, it was a
Cool.
video nasty from 1983, directed by Michael Dugan, who I thought he was someone of note, but he only directed like 3 movies. So to be honest, I was thinking of Dennis Dugan, the one who directed like those Adam Sandler films. Don't ask me
Yeah.
why.
That's not like a person of
Not the
note.
same person. Not the same person. But that's from Treasured Films. Support our buddies over there. They're doing um, very ground based work. Starting out with a very, very, very small company. This is their third release. And yeah, they're just putting their all and all the passion in the world into these releases. And these are pretty deluxe releases. I know, Steven, you have
Yeah,
their first release, The Last Hunter,
I do. It's
which
amazing.
they have put out in a standard edition now. If you did not get the limited edition straight off the bat. Um, and then they had their second release, which of course Steven and I can never remember,
It's the
even though we had them on.
Satan's something.
Yes, I'm scrolling down their page and I kind of wish they had it here. I probably should just go to their website. What an idiot!
What an idiot.
What an idiot! And of course they don't have a link to their website here. Oh no! But anywho, go check out their stuff and support them. But moving on, let's move on from there.
All right.
There's some individual guys here. Let's stick in. Let's stick with the horror. Might as well. It's that time of year, Stephen.
Is
It's
it
September, and
September?
people have got the horror, the Halloween
As in
vibes
shitty
going.
movies in the theaters or something? Is that
I
what we're talking about?
guess. I guess. I mean, there are horror movies in the theaters. I mean, they have The Nun 2 just came out, and
Oh,
then they
oh,
have what was that,
masterpiece.
A Haunting in Venice, which is the
Yes.
next Kenneth Branagh's just going through all of Agatha Christie's Poirot films and
Yeah.
just putting
Yeah.
them on the screen. He went through Shakespeare and now he's going through Agatha Christie.
And in between
So,
there, he throws in an Oppenheimer appearance.
yeah,
Where he's
yeah. In between, he's in the Christopher Nolan film
yeah,
for a few scenes.
yeah.
Uh, but it is that time of year, so let's stick with that. Where did I want to go? Oh yeah, film movement. No, Film Masters. Film Masters, who we've talked about a bunch of times recently. Once again, they were on Ryan's podcast, The Disconnect, talking about Film Masters and all the stuff they're up to there. They're putting out another film, kind of from the archives here. This is actually coming out in January 16th. Now, this is The Devil's Partner, the Charles R. Rondeau film from 1961. This is an interesting film. I'll read the description here. So, an old hermit makes a pact with the devil and is resurrected as a young man. He poses as Nick Richards and begins practicing black magic in the hermit's shack. In sinister ceremonies involving sacrificial goats, Nick is able to transform into demonic animals and wreak havoc in a small town. The village
Cool.
sheriff and doctor begin to get suspicious after a series of deaths and are shocked as their horrifying fears are confirmed. Ed Nelson gives an eerie performance as the devil's partner in this ghastly tale. So we got a little like Faust thing going on here, like making a pact with the devil, making some deal with the demon, and trying to reap some rewards. But of course, the rewards are never worth it.
Never worth it.
They always lead down a dark path. Um,
I've seen Supernatural. I know that that shit doesn't work out.
yeah, it never
The
ever
show.
works out. You know what I mean? It just yeah, it's like what do you yeah, it's like you want the riches, you want the glory, you want the whatever, and it's never worth the easy path. Like the easy path always leads to dire things happening. Yeah, this movie's fine. I mean, I'm more interested in how it's going to look versus what I saw online. You can find it streaming in various places. I think Amazon Prime it's streaming. It's streaming on Tubi, on Fubo TV, on Plex. Apparently there's an MGM Plus streaming service, which makes no damn sense to me, because Amazon owns MGM now, so it's kind of like they just made a streaming service to make extra money off
It
of the
costs
MGM
money to
name,
have it. I was
and
gonna
it
say,
costs like to subscribe to it. And
yeah,
I'm like, what are you doing? People already have to subscribe for Amazon Prime, and that price keeps going up every year.
yeah,
I mean, what's it? Disney Plus just announced they're going up.
yep.
Hulu announced they're going
Hulu
up
just
in
went up.
price.
Yep.
Um,
It's
HBO Max or Max is going up in price as well. They're all going up in price. Yet I'll say this yet again, but they're taking but less content. Like
yeah.
they keep deleting content, they keep canceling shows and getting rid of content
It's like
and selling content to other
it's like we're
places.
reverting back to cable again.
Yeah, it's like it's just cable now.
Yeah,
It's exactly what happened. It's like last night. I mean, one of the HBO Max shows that I hadn't watched yet, but was planning on watching the second after the season 2 finale finished, press releases all over the internet, show canceled. It's like
yeah.
they knew that the show was already canceled before they started airing the second season, and that's just like cable used to be. Just like cable used to be. They're just making decisions with you know we don't know and we don't know. So it's really really annoying. But yeah, so that's getting me on. Let me get back to my Faustian tale with the devil's partner here. I wanted to get into the special features a little bit, but I'm losing my place. Oh, there it is. So there is a 4K restoration from the original 35 millimeter archival elements, which is pretty cool. There's also a second feature on here in HD, Creature from the Haunted Sea, which I did not get to see, but I like the fact that they included an extra film. That just seems like like an extra bonus, like two for the price of one. It is region free.
it's like they're because of the type of film it is. It's a lot of times these movies came with a first a film before it or a double feature. Like some kind of deal. You know.
Well, yeah, and it does help that um yeah, the Devil's Partner is only 73 minutes long,
Yeah.
and the Creature from the Haunted Sea is 63 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you can put both of those movies on one disc and be perfectly fine in terms
Yeah.
of like compression rates and all that kind of stuff. Those films are both so super short, and I'm pretty sure they're both in black and white. At least the Devil's Partner was in black and white. And also like the audio is not taking up a lot of space on the disc.
Yeah.
You can do those things. So that's the 4K restoration of the Devil's Partner. So yeah, I'm curious about it. There's a lot of interesting features on here. There's two audio commentaries. There's a booklet with essays, and then there was a part three um, documentary on here. It says Hollywood Intruders: The Film Group Story, Part Three, the Ballyhoo Motion Pictures. That's the stuff I'm interested in. I love those extra features that are about not necessarily the movie itself, but like stuff around the movie, like a film
Yeah.
studio, or there was one on one of the um, Tales of Adventure collection, the volume one. The first movie in there had a featurette about an actor who wasn't even in the movie. All he had did was like the opening narration of the movie, but they did a whole feature on this actor and how he was just like a solid character actor throughout his entire career and showed up in a bunch of movies. And this is him. And it's like this had nothing to do with the movie specifically, but it was fascinating to learn about. Just fascinating. Um, but yeah, let's move on from Film Masters. Let's move over to Studio Canal, and I want to talk about this film. This is the film Cry the Beloved Country from 1951, um, starring Canada Lee, Charles Carson, Sidney Poitier. Hold the phone on that for a second.
Mm,
And this is a fantastic movie. This is an amazing movie. I'll read the description here. In his last role on screen, the outstanding Canada Lee plays Kumalo, a hard-up Zulu priest who journeys from a small village in rural South Africa to Johannesburg in search of his missing son. The findings of this good man come as blows one by one. First, that his sister is a prostitute, and then that his son has been arrested and sentenced to death for the shooting of an important white man. Back in the village, a white farmer, back in the village, Jarvis, a rich white farmer who's played by Charles Carson, indifferent to the injustices imposed by the apartheid, hears of the murders of his son. Through this tragedy, Jarvis learns that his son was a great activist opposed to the oppression of the black South Africans, and thus comes to have a new understanding of their struggles. They go there. It's an adaptation of a classic novel and all this kind of stuff. What's important, I think, is that this I believe is the first time this movie is getting a Blu-ray release anywhere, and it's truly, I think, a great film. You get a lot of this is the first time this movie's ever gotten a Blu-ray release anywhere. So putting out from Studio Canal, it will be probably Region B locked,
yeah.
don't you think, Steven?
Well,
That's Studio
yeah, if
Canal's
it's just a
game.
Blu-ray, then probably,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. But
So
your recommendation, yeah, I like the cast. I
yeah,
like what I'm
it
hearing.
is very, I would say, melodramatic, over
Yeah,
the top in that acting way of that time, but the dialogue is really, really good. The emotions are genuine. The situations are very interesting because you have this like I said, small town priest who has to go to the big city, so you get that fish out of water situation. Like, literally, there's a scene with him on the train, and he's so unused to what a big city looks like, he can't fathom it. So they're going along, and he's like, "Oh, is that Johannesburg?" And the people on the train are laughing at him, like, "No, no, that's just some random place." You'll And he gets to Johannesburg, and it's just giant, tall brick cement buildings that he's never seen before, and he's just going through that area and just shocked by what he sees in terms of the way people live and how that world is. He's so divorced from that part of society that he's just shocked by it. That's one aspect of the film, let alone the other aspects that the description kind of goes into. His sister has gone off and has fallen into dark times to the point where that she's become a prostitute in order to live her life. His son has now become a criminal. Um, and he has to deal with all of these heavy weights hitting him one time after the other. And in the backdrop of all of this is the apartheid government of South Africa of the time. For those of you who don't know, the apartheid government of South Africa existed pretty much from 1948 all the way up into the 90s, and it was basically a form of um, just segregating the black community that lived in South Africa in order for the minority whites to stay in power. And it was racist as hell, obviously. And
yeah,
that goes without saying. I mean, they made several movies about it. This was the whole Nelson Mandela's crusade against the apartheid and all that kind of stuff, which you probably have all heard about, hopefully. If you haven't, look all that up. But this movie, has that background and setting. So of course that racism comes through very, very emotionally throughout the film. But yeah, it's a great film. Sidney Poitier has a small role in this film. That's why I said hold the phone, because you're gonna see Sidney Poitier probably on the cover of this Blu-ray, and I'm like, the movie's not about him. movie's not. Movie's not about him. But he's in the film as this young priest that this other priest meets, the Komalo character meets when he gets to Johannesburg, and this young priest is kind of helping him find his son and going around and talking with people to be on this hunt for his son. So he helps him, and he's very, very different compared to the small priest. I'm pretty sure they put him in there just to have this character foil: small town priest, big city priest. The differences of them. So it's a smaller role by Sidney Poitier, an early one in his career, really. But he's really, really great in the film. Yeah, overall,
awesome.
amazing film. Probably the best film I watched for this week's podcast,
I
really.
was gonna say it's probably not that hard to. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, it exactly.
Sometimes
Uh,
it isn't that hard.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes you got to go through a lot of 2.5, 2-star films on Letterboxd to get to something actually really good for a lot of
Yeah,
these releases, unfortunately. But yeah, that's Cry the Beloved Country. Highly recommend it. This is coming out October 9th from Studio Canal. Um,
awesome.
yeah, so if it doesn't get a region A release, I would I would definitely recommend getting this region B release. But who knows? For some reason, Studio Canal stuff sometimes they announce
I
something and
could
then
see a
somebody
Keen.
here
I could
announces
see
it.
Kino putting it out.
You
Yeah.
know what? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now that you brought up Kino, why don't we go there?
Damn it! Why did I
Yeah, I
bring?
mean,
Why did I
there's
bring
some,
them up?
and then there's some other ones here, but actually this works in with Kino, so I can just wait on that. I just want to clean up some of these tabs here. If I don't delete some of these tabs as I go along, it just becomes very confusing. So let me go to Kino. Ah, there they are. So Kino had a bit of a slower week, but a week nonetheless. Their first film here is coming out November 14th. Is 2 Days in the Valley. 2 Days in the Valley, starring a really good cast. Danny Aiello, Jeff Daniels, Terry Hatcher, James Stolt, and Charlize Theron. It's like, and this movie came out in 1996, so it's in the middle of some of these young actors, just getting their starts in their careers, really. Especially like James Spader. I'm pretty sure wasn't this the same year that Crash came out, or did Crash come out like a year before this? So it was right around Crash era James Spader.
Yeah,
Jeff Daniels had what night didn't 95 wasn't that Dumb and Dumber or was that 94?
94.
Yeah, so it's right around that time as well. And Danny Aiello, I remember him being in. Oh man, he was in Moonstruck for a little bit, and he was also in Do the Right Thing. I remember
Hmm.
that. But yeah, so this film is a bit of a '90s film noir. Um, yeah, this
It came out the year before L.A. Confidential.
it did, 1996. Um, let me look up the description of this because it's one of those films where there are several storylines happening, and then all these storylines start intersecting until they all meet up at the end. Very much a la like a Robert Altman film, but
Yeah.
way less complicated and way less like complex. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's a movie that is very easy to follow. That's what I really liked about it, and it was just rather entertaining. So, in a sleepy bedroom community of LA's San Fernando Valley, the murder of a professional athlete by two hitmen sets into motion a chain of events that puts the mundane lives of a dozen residents on a collision course. This clever tale tells the story of two hitmen, a mistress, a nurse, a vindictive ex wife, a wealthy art dealer and his lovelorn assistant, a suicidal writer and his dog, and a bitter cop and his partner. And all of these people all are crisscrossing paths with one another in some way, shape, or form until, like I said, they all meet up in the end. And I rather enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was very, very
Cool.
entertaining, kind of a sleek, not even sleek, but kind of just relatively basic. But like I said, clean, easy to follow, good acting, good characters. Good like character stuff going on in there. I liked it.
Cool. Yeah. I'm just looking at this cast. I'm and it's being kind of a noir. That's going to be something I'm into. So yeah, I could see this popping into one of them future neo noir imprint sets.
Yeah, and it is streaming on Amazon Prime. It's streaming on Paramount Plus. Um, and yeah, so those are the two easiest places to find it. But I
Coolio.
did want to say, well, word to the wise, on Paramount Plus and Prime Video, it's in the wrong aspect ratio. So it's supposed to be 235 to 1, and I think they have it in 185 to 1, and it looks terrible. It looks terrible in the sense like the faces and the bodies are all like stretched in a way that doesn't look natural. The movie opens with two people in a car, and I think pretty sure it's Danny Aiello and James Spader in a car. And I was looking at it, I'm like, they have like medium close-ups of their heads because they're talking back and forth, so it's like a shot reverse shot thing going on, and I'm like, their head doesn't look quite right in this frame. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not looking right. So I did want to tell you for your aspect ratio aficionados that Streaming on there, it's in the wrong aspect ratio, and it'll drive you nuts because I know it did that to me. So moving on from there, um, got 2 days in the valley. I wanted to see if this was yeah. So there's actually a special feature on here that's interesting called 2 Days in the Valley, Sylvester Stallone and John Herzfeld conversation. That's 35 minutes long.
Jeez.
That's interesting. There's a new commentary by writer-director John Herzfeld on here. It's a brand new master from a 4K scan, which leads me to believe, Steven, in a year from now, this could get re-released on
Yeah.
4K. Don't ask me
Watch out.
why. Just watch out. Just feel like that's the thing that like that's something that could possibly happen with literally any Kino release right now. Anytime it says 4K master or remaster,
Or if this is a Paramount film, that Paramount puts it on 4K.
yeah, that could
Not
definitely
Kino, but yeah.
definitely happen. So I wanted to take a quick look and see what the connection between um the director Herzfeld and Sylvester Stallone is, and I think I know what it is.
Is it
No,
a movie that he directed that Stallone was in? Like Demolition Man or something? I don't know.
it's gotta be. There's gotta be.
It's got to be some kind of
There's gotta
connection.
be. I thought there was something here, but I guess not. No, because I'm just looking. I'm just looking quickly through. I don't know why.
Doesn't seem quickly. Seems like you're taking
I
long.
thought there may. I thought there may have been a connection. For some reason, there's a connection here, and I'm gonna get it. And I'm pretty sure maybe it has to do with. So it's not writing. It's not directing. It could be producing. It could be producing, and it's not. Why? You know what's throwing me? You know
Why are
what's
two
throwing me
random
off?
people talking to each other?
Yeah, you know what's throwing me off is that when you go to John Herzfeld's page on IMDb, the trailer for a Stallone film plays. It's the trailer for Cobra, and I don't know why. It's driving me crazy. It's like he didn't produce Cobra, he didn't direct Cobra, he didn't write Cobra. Why is Cobra on here? That's gonna drive me crazy. Oh
It's his
man,
favorite movie. So
maybe it's his favorite movie.
yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea why.
All right,
That's just
well,
wild to me.
let's
But let's
move
move
on,
on. Let's move on because
please.
this is gonna boggle the mind. So
Um,
that's coming out November
yeah,
14th, and then next we've got the Carpetbaggers, which I believe we've talked about because it was
yeah.
announced already.
We've talked about these next couple
Yeah,
before.
so that's coming out November 28th. I did actually get to finally watch the Carpetbaggers. I watched it last night. The movie's 2.5 hours long, and it's loosely based on the life of Howard Hughes in the sense that you have this really rich, obnoxious asshole treating people like shit for the whole movie,
Cool.
and because he's super rich. And he's great cast, portrayed by George Peppard, um, who was in Breakfast at Tiffany's and plus a bunch of other films. Yeah, he's like it's like loosely based on Howard Hughes. Um, Alan Ladd is in this film as a character. Um, Carol Baker is in this film as well. This is a film that apparently was very, very that pushed the envelope in terms of like having sexual and erotic scenes on screen. Like Carol Baker in this film is constantly um doing things in a very sexual manner, is constantly throwing herself at the George Peppard character, and their scenes are very not passionate, but they're spicy scenes. I like and they describe this here as like Carol Baker, who performs a razzle dazzle strip tease atop a glittering chandelier, is the Jean Harlow type star. Yeah, in addition to its depiction of wildlife in Tinseltown's early days, the film also boasts Alan Ladd. Terrific final screen performance. It is his last screen performance. I'm just gonna spoil. I don't want to spoil this, but there's a scene in this film where Alan Ladd's character beats the shit out of George Peppard's character, and I was like, yes, finally, somebody beat this guy's ass.
Somebody did it.
George Peppard's character in this film is such a piece of crap. That he needed to beat down this whole movie. And I'm like, this is 2.5 hours in. Somebody beat him up, please. so, okay, so,
Beat
so
the
yeah,
Pepard out of him.
yeah. And so people didn't really like this film on Letterbox that I was reading. I gave it relatively low, meandering, kind of mid ratings, and I kind of understand why while watching the movie. It's a very long, drawn out film of him just making like business deals, being shitty to people, getting screwed over by people who hate him, or screwing over people he hates, all because he's this rich egomaniac type of guy. The film feels like it's trying to be something like a Citizen Kane, but it has nowhere near the style or the engagement that that film had or the innovation that it had. It's just so kind of bland and just kind of regular. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it is directed by Edward Dmytryk, though, who is kind of a career working director. Dmytryk, I remember we talk about him all the time because he directed a lot of film noirs, but kind of like lesser film noirs. But he also directed movies like Crossfire, The Kane Mutiny, Mirage. Yeah, he had a rather long career. Yeah, so he always pops up like the Young Lions, Rain Tree Country, um, those types of movies. The Sniper. Um, a lot of these movies have very catchy titles, like
Yeah.
like Murder My Sweet, which is another film noir that's actually I think based off of a Raymond Chandler novel. Um,
All right.
yeah. So
Well,
let's move on from that. Moving on.
uh, and the next one we've talked about
The
before, we don't
Last
have to go.
Tycoon with Bobby
Yes,
De Niro.
you
With
talked about it.
Elia
Way too fucking
Kazan.
long and wasn't as good as you thought it would be.
Yeah, no, yeah,
At least
Bobby De Niro's good in it.
you reviewed it already.
Yeah,
You don't
Odds
have to go
Against
through the whole.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk about it when it was announced. Once upon a Midnight Dreary, many
Yeah.
many moons ago. I feel like that was something that was announced earlier
It
this
was
year or
it
maybe even
was like
last
3
year.
or 4 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's been a while. So Odds Against Tomorrow is another one. This movie is I think we talked about it. Did we talk about Odds Against Tomorrow? I can't remember, but it's
It
coming out on
sounds
December 5th.
familiar, but I don't really I can't say I remember.
Yeah, it's talk about a cast. Harry Belafonte, Robert Ryan, Gloria Graham, Shelley Winters, Ed Begley. Um, it's directed by Robert Wise, who directed The Setup, The Day the Earth Stood Still, The Haunting. Um, it's a good movie. This was a movie that had been released on Blu-ray, I believe by Olive Films. Um, uh, I want to say 2018, 2019, somewhere recently. Um, I mean, somewhat recently. Yeah, Odds Against Tomorrow came out in 2018 from Olive Films, and yeah, it's a good film. It's another I believe film noir. Odds Against Tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm typing it out. 1959. Um, in need of a quick money, a fallen former cop recruits a hard-bitten ex-con and a debt-ridden nightclub singer to pull off a bank job. But as the animosity between them boils over, the entire plan threatens to implode. It's one of those heist movies where I'm guessing egos get in the way. That would be
Yeah.
my guess. Ironically, is that I've seen the movie and I just don't remember it. So moving on from there, we've got one more film which I did get to watch. Actually, we have two more films. Silent Scream. Now, this is getting a 4K UHD edition, and I had no idea why. Um, yeah, this is a horror film from 1979. This is available to watch on Tubi if anyone is interested in it, and it's not a particularly great film. That's why I'm wondering. I'm wondering if it's part of their cult line. It doesn't
Uh,
say it here.
doesn't
They don't
say
mention
it,
it here,
but it kind of fits.
but it fits. It fits very much in that Kino cult thing that they've got going on, because yeah, it's kind of a schlocky like horror movie from that time frame that they've been kind of putting out in their first run of their Kino cult stuff. Um, yeah, let me get the description from it. Oh yeah, so Scotty moves into Mrs. Ingalls' seaside mansion where three other college students are boarding. Mrs. Ingalls prefers to stay in her bedroom in the attic, but her son Mason helps the students get settled. Soon, one of the students is killed. The policemen on the case begin uncovering the Ingalls family secret as the remaining students become endangered. The movie stars Rebecca Balding, Barbara Steele is in the film, Yvonne DiCarlo is in the film as Mrs. Ingalls. Yvonne DiCarlo, of course, being Lily Munster on The Munsters back in the 60s. That's where I know her from. She had a whole movie career before she did The Munsters, but everybody remembers her from The Munsters. And yeah, it's exactly what this suggests. This young woman's trying to find housing because she's starting out at college, so she moves into this boarding house that's creepy by the seaside. There's weird people who kind of live in it already. Mrs. Ingalls and her son Mason, and people start dying. What's going on? What's the mystery? What's happening here? And it becomes uncovered. Ta-da! You can kind of guess who it is.
Ah, yeah.
Ta-da! You can kind of guess who it is early on. It's not nothing big major going on here. Um, yeah, that's Silent Scream.
All right.
Moving on from Silent Scream. Now we've got Valmont, a Milos Forman film. Give me more Milos Forman on Blu-ray, please. But I wish it was a better movie.
Mm,
So we've got
unfortunate.
a Milos Forman doing an adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons. And this movie came out in 1989, and you may be wondering, hey, didn't we get a movie called Dangerous Liaisons around that time? Why, yes, we did, and it was directed by Stephen Frears, and it came out in 1988, and it's a much better movie than this. So it's Milos Forman doing an adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons, which has been adapted several times over in many ways and in different forms. Um, it's it's unfortunately that this movie I find can be kind of bland, if you will. Not as like the story's supposed to be like sexy and spicy and like fraught with entanglement and immorality and all that stuff. And I found the characters just to be uninteresting, really. Um, and so that's the real issue I had with it. So legendary filmmaker Milos Forman, who directed One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus, Man on the Moon, takes on the classic novel La Liaisons Dangereuses in this delectable thriller. Oh, that's a word.
Mm.
Starring the great cast, by the way, Colin Firth, Annette Bening, Meg Tilly. Fairuza Balk is in this film as well. In 18th century France, a cold, calculating playboy, Valmont, who's Colin Firth, makes a malicious wager with the equally wicked Madame de Myrtle, Annette Bening. Valmont must dishonor the married Madame de Tourvel, who is portrayed by Meg Tilly, by sleeping with her. If Valmont succeeds, he gets the privilege of Martirella's bed as well. But when Valmont sets out on his task, the unexpected happens. He falls in love with Tourvel, and now Martial will stop at nothing to destroy Valmont's newfound passion. Co-written by Jean-Claude Cartier, who I believe wrote Belle de Jour, and co-starring Fairuza Balk, like I said. And Henry Thomas is in this film, young Henry Thomas from E.T. fame, who's still acting to this day. Doing very well, actually. And yeah, it says here the sumptuous Valmont spins an exquisitely entertaining tale of cruel intentions and savage seductions. The reason why I emphasize cruel intentions is because do you remember the movie Cruel Intentions? That movie is an adaptation of Dangerous Liaisons, but that was done. It's like a teenage version of that done in modern times, circa like 1999, I think. I always really liked that movie. I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure. I don't know if it was just me growing up during that time or me just liking the actors in that film: Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Philippe, Reese Witherspoon, Selma Blair. Um, I don't know. That movie seemed to just have had
Yeah,
things
things
going
just
for
catch
it.
at the right time. Yeah.
Maybe perhaps in 1999 I was like 12 years old. I probably saw it a couple of years later in my teenage years and all that kind of stuff, and it's like it's sexy, it's perverse, it's all of those things, and that's what I actually found missing from this version of Valmont was all of those things. The film feels rather sterile for something that's supposed to be so you know opposite of that. But Milos Forman is a great director, and he directed it well and whatnot. Good acting in it too, but watch Dangerous Liaisons instead. It came out around the same time, and I think it's just a much better film. I
Yeah.
think these films came out within a year of each other, so it was kind of weird that we got like two adaptations of the same thing coming out in the same time.
Now that tends to happen a lot.
Yeah, I guess that also tends to happen as well.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for
Kino.
Kino. Yes.
Yep.
So we've got some other things like I mentioned, but something that's actually in the Kino vein, because I believe Kino puts out these releases. At least they're on their website and they're in their sales. Is Cohen Media Group is putting out a new um, Buster Keaton collection. Buster Keaton Collection Volume 5, which I'm super excited about because I have the first 4 volumes of this, and I didn't think they were putting out any more because this is the first one they've put out since 2020. So in 3 years, this is the first one. This is coming out November 7th, and it has 2 Buster Keaton films. Just like the other volumes have 2 films apiece. This has 3 ages and Our Hospitality. Um, and in typical Cohen Media fashion, these are done with beautiful restorations and remasters and stuff. And I know the other ones look absolutely fantastic. Um, but yeah, so Three Ages was Buster Keaton's first foray into feature film production. After a successful string of shorts, this hilariously inventive satire of D.W. Griffith's intolerance follows the age-old story of misadventures on the road to finding love, retold in 3 separate eras, a structure that cleverly allowed Keaton to recut the film into 3 separate shorts if it failed as a feature. For this restoration, 5 elements were compared and a second-generation duplicate negative being used for the majority. Now, we talked about Three Ages because I'm pretty sure Eureka put out a Blu-ray
Yeah.
of this film in and of just by itself.
Yes,
That's probably
I
where I
believe I
watched it.
have it. Yeah, I believe I
Yeah,
have it.
and they've already put that out, and then Our Hospitality, which is the second film here, is perhaps Buster Keaton's most nuanced comedy, and again finds Buster recreating a bygone era. In it, he plays a 19th century New Yorker who returns to the antebellum South to claim his inheritance, but finds himself also inheriting a long-standing multi-generational feud between his family and that of the woman he loves, played by Buster Keaton's real life spouse, Natalie Talmadge. For this restoration, a total of 17 film elements were compared, with a first generation nitrate positive held at the Library of Congress being the main element used. So, Our Hospitality reminded me of, I thought it was like a satire of the Hatfields and McCoys, that whole family,
Yeah.
the family feud thing they had going on in the 19th century, because that's kind of the backset drop of this. It opens up with this kind of telling us about this rivalry, and then there's a murder that happens. So a young, like, baby version of the Buster Keaton character gets whisked off to live with distant relatives. So he grows up completely unaware of this long-standing family feud that they've got going on. So he comes back to town, meets this woman on the stagecoach coming in, falls in love with her, and she just so happens to be part of the rival family. So complications ensue. Amazing, amazing action sequences done in the climax of the film that involve a waterfall and all kinds of stuff. There's a train sequence, of course, in this film because once you've done the general, you can kind of got to do a train in there and whatnot. But Buster Keaton, known for doing just amazing practical action sequences at a time where things like CGI didn't exist, anything like that. Um, immaculate filmmaking, really, truly incredible work. So that's awesome to have. I can't wait to add it to my collection. Um, yeah, I'm super excited about this. I'm excited they're keeping doing this. Hopefully, they continue these in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how much they have in their archives to keep putting these out, but I want to buy it just to support the idea of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I believe I have the Eureka of both of these. Both of them have had. I believe Our Hospitality has its own release as well, by
Yeah, I know, but
itself.
they've been doing a lot of Buster Keaton work. Eureka has
Yeah.
over the last few years,
Oh
putting
yeah,
out really beautiful editions.
definitely. All right.
So where do we want to go here? We've got Warner
Warner.
Archive.
Yeah.
You want to go there?
Yeah.
All
Let's
right.
go there.
All right, so Warner Archive announced today, fresh, hot off the presses. Warner Archive announced their October releases, so right around the corner. Or if you're in the future, these have already come out, and you may already have these. Who knows? Time is a weird thing when you think about it. So, Steven, you want to run these down because I've been talking too much.
Sure. So first, what we have here is film starring Dustin Hoffman and John Travolta, Mad City. Um, we got Dustin Hoffman and John Travolta team up in this award-winning filmmaker Costa Grava. Wow, Costa Grava film. Um, in a fierce tale of ratings-driven TV news gone mad, Gibraltar is Sam, a misguided museum guard who loses his job and then tries to get it back at gunpoint. Hoffman is Max, a local TV reporter taken hostage with school children when Sam locks down the museum. And you can see where that could go from there. I don't want to read the whole description here. Next, we have Love and War, which stars Sandra Bullock, Chris O'Donnell. I said Chris O'Neill. From Batman Forever fame. And I guess now he's on one of the CSIs. He's been on there for
forever.
15 years. And then we have Rupanu. Is that how you say that? I don't know. Rapanu. Films described as an island paradise became a scarred paradise lost in the spectacular South Seas adventure Rapanu, co-produced by Kevin Costner and directed by Kevin Reynolds, which they work together a lot. Jason Scott Lee from Bruce Lee's story. They played Elsie Morales. They play boyhood friends turned fierce rivals in this tumultuous tale of love and war. Then next we have the Devil Doll. I wonder that might be just by the cover of that looks interesting. Next we have Double Trouble. Then we have Food Dance. I said food. I meant full. A Dance Full Dance, which I think was that put out by somebody else. I feel like I've seen the title before. I don't know. But then last we have Looney Tune Collector's Edition Volume 2.
Nice.
So I know you're excited about that. I think.
The other day it was on sale on Amazon for dirt cheap. That Volume 1 that came out recently. And people were speculating that perhaps that means that it didn't sell well, so they were just trying to get it out of there, just trying to sell it off, and that means that we would not get a Volume 2. But apparently that wasn't the case. So I'm glad we're still getting some animation on Blu-ray. I do want to point out that The Devil Doll is a film by Todd Browning, of course, from Freaks fame as well as other films. So that stars Lionel Barrymore, Maureen O'Sullivan. It's a film I actually have seen apparently because I was checking out on Letterboxd. So a wrongfully convicted of a robbery and murder, Paul Levon breaks out of prison with a genius scientist who has devised a way to shrink humans. When the scientist dies during the escape, Levon heads for his lab using the shrinking technology to get even with those who framed him and vindicate himself in both the public eye and the eyes of his daughter Lorraine, when an accident leaves a crazed assistant dead. However, Levon must again make an escape. Yeah, I've seen the film. I can't remember where I watched it. I feel like it's something I may have watched on either the Criterion channel or perhaps on TCM on demand or something like that. But if it was Todd Browning, there was a chance that that's what drew me to it. I'm just glad that more of his work is getting put on Blu-ray. Obviously, we got Freaks coming. Dracula's been out for years. There's so much of his stuff that I would love to see finally get a nice Blu-ray release. So that's really, really cool. Once again, Warner Archive putting out some eclectic but great stuff.
Well, it's good to see that they're not. This slate is a lot more. I wouldn't say modern, but current.
It's a mix, though. It seems a bit of a mix.
It is, but we're seeing more of their more modern-y stuff, I think, lately than we usually see.
Yeah, you know what it is? They're starting to put out a lot of their like for example, In Love and Wars from 1996, Mad City's from 1997.
Yeah. Like 90s stuff. We're seeing a little bit more 80s
from
stuff.
94.
Yeah.
They're putting out kind of their 90s catalog stuff that obviously haven't been put on Blu-ray before.
Yeah.
Mad City, I saw some people buzzing about that. You got 90s Sandra Bullock and Chris O'Donnell in Love and War, which I think may be an adaptation of, or a quasi-adaptation of Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. I believe this. Hold on, I want to see if I got this right. So it does. Yeah, it is directed by Richard
I was
Attenborough.
gonna say, yeah.
Holy shit. Um, yeah,
That
Richard
might be
Attenborough.
one to get. Yeah, them that Mad City. I think I'm.
Yeah, Richard Attenborough, who, um, yeah, he directed Gandhi as amongst other things,
Yeah,
as well as, of course, doing a lot of acting, being in Jurassic Park and The Great Escape and
yeah.
all that stuff. Um, but yeah, that's definitely something that's very interesting to me. I mean, it brings up the idea that I thought that we would be getting Amadeus reissued in perhaps 4K or Blu-ray by Criterion or somebody at some point, but I guess we have to wait a little bit longer.
I
I
guess.
guess we shall be waiting. Um, it's yeah, it's one of those things that's been rumored for several years now, that we would be getting Amadeus, because the only Amadeus release we've gotten has been from Warner Brothers, and it was only the longer, I think, director's cut. They never put the theatrical cut on Blu-ray, and people have been clamoring for the theatrical cut to be put on a Blu-ray for years.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I also want to point out that Double Trouble stars Elvis, so we've got another Elvis film getting a Blu-ray release.
Is he playing himself as a twin in that
Oh,
movie?
its description: when crooner Guy Lambert wraps his London show and travels to Brussels, two beauties secretly follow. One is Annette Day, is a love-struck heiress. The other is Yvonne Romaine, an enigmatic temptress, and they could be too much for the attached Guy. Comedy, mystery, and mayhem combined when Elvis Presley plays Guy in Double Trouble, a romp involving stolen gems, trench-coated detectives, and more. It looks like Double Trouble is Elvis having to choose between two different types of women. That's what it sounds like to
Oh,
me.
jeez.
It's like one's a love-struck heiress and the other is an enigmatic temptress. And
So
then complications ensue.
people
And
can relate to that.
of
People
course,
can
he's going to be
relate.
doing some singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be doing some singing and some guitar
There's
playing
been
because
a
it's
lot
an
of
Elvis
Elvis
movie.
coming out. You had the
You know?
Paramount Presents.
Oh yes.
Was
We've
it
got
Blue Hawaii or something like that?
yeah. They put out Blue Hawaii a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, but I believe we've been getting some Elvis through Warner Archive. I think their last go around, I think, had a movie. Maybe it was somebody else, but it was the movie where he was like a race car driver. Um,
Of course.
and and of course we've been getting Elvis biopic movies. We got the Baz Luhrmann film from last year. We're getting a Sofia Coppola film this year. So there's a lot of Elvis content going around. He's back in the conversation. Um, and yeah, I don't think he's ever really left the conversation. People have been talking about Elvis.
Well, he left the building once, apparently.
Yeah, that's true.
Elvis left the building.
Unless you watch Men in Black, where you remember that line in Men in Black where I think Will Smith asked if Elvis was an alien or something like that. What happened to Elvis?
You know,
And
I think there's a scene where somebody rambles off like people that are aliens that people don't know that are aliens. Like one of them's, I think, like Tom Cruise. I think don't they say Tom Cruise or something?
maybe in
Uh,
one of the sequels.
yeah, but they ramble off a lot. No, Stallone pops up on the screen once. I know we see that.
Nice.
But like yeah, and that's in the first movie, I think. But yeah. So yeah, this is like you said, eclectic. I like I said, I like seeing some of these more modern things pop up. I'm definitely I want to check out Mad City and see how that is. So, but how about we change directions and go over to Severin?
Sure, why not?
All right. So over in Severin, we got it looks like 3 titles. One of them a big one that
Yeah.
what's that?
I was gonna say 3 titles but 4 movies.
4
Okay.
movies. Yeah. One of them is a 4K here for a movie called Zombie Apocalypse, without the E on the end, by the way. Zombie Apocalypse. Zombie Holocaust. 4K. I believe this is a big one. I believe people have been clamoring for this one. And then second we have this is the one I'm interested in. 4K of Count Dracula, starring Christopher Lee and Klaus Klosinski, or how do you say? Is that how you say him?
Klaus Kinski.
Klosinski. I separated his name.
Yeah.
And then the last one we have is a double feature. You'll have to
Yeah,
pronounce this one.
it's Vampire Quaticook and
Okay,
Umbraco.
Umbracal. All right. Well, um, so where do you want to start?
So I did get to see all of these,
Oh
and
wow.
I'll start with
Okay.
Zombie Holocaust. So the Zombie Holocaust, this release is probably gonna actually I could just go on the website and look, but it's probably gonna be expensive and for obvious reasons because it's a 4 disc set. It's two 4K discs and two Blu-rays, and you get, I believe, you get two different cuts of the film. So Zombie Holocaust was initially released as Zombie Holocaust, and then it was re-edited and recut and re-released. I'm pretty sure in the U.S. a couple of years after its release, called Doctor Butcher M.D.,
Cool.
which
I like
is
that. I like that title. I like that title better.
so the description for this movie. Okay, here we go. It sparked riots on 42nd Street, spawned a generation of gorehounds on VHS, forever set an insane standard for Italian zombie slash cannibal carnage out worldwide, and is now presented in UHD. Ian McCullough, Alexandra Deli, and yeah, Del Coley, Sherry Buchanan, and Donald O'Brien star in this unabashed Euro trash orgy of gut munching, eyeball gouging, and
Gut
face
munching.
chopping, originally
Wow.
known as Zombie Holocaust, which a notorious American distributor would then re-edit, retitle as Dr. Butcher MD, and re-released as certified grindhouse masterpiece. Severin Films now presents both films scanned in 4K from original vault elements, discovered in Manhattan and Rome, with 4 hours of archival and all new special features, and revealed and special features that reveal the unbelievable truth behind its bizarre history, infamous marketing, and still deviant legacy. So this was obviously part of the Video Nasties
Yeah.
band in the UK. And when you watch the movie, it's for obvious reasons. Very heavy gore effects, like gooey, bloody gore effects. There's cannibalism involved in the film. It's it's very violent, of course, but it's exactly what this description, this log line here, this marketing kind of suggests. It's yeah, it's not a good movie. It's not good.
Okay. Just say it, man. It's
Yeah, it's
okay.
not good, but I don't think it's supposed to be. Um,
I mean, I'm
so
sure that somebody wants it to be good,
yeah, I
but I
mean, but
mean,
it's exactly what's interesting is that the movie is actually also called Zombie 3, which if you know the history behind that
yeah,
name is very interesting.
The Fulci
Yeah,
zombie.
so in Europe, Zombie was the name for Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the title for Dawn of the Dead in some places in Europe, I believe. So Zombie 2, which was Fulci's zombie film. And then this was Zombie 3. None of these movies have anything to do with each other
Yeah.
whatsoever, just for marketing. That's all
Yeah.
it is. But so this movie starts off in, I think, like New York City or something like that, where um people's like body parts are being stolen out of morgues, and they're trying to discover what's going on with this. You know what I mean? Bodies are being mutilated, and then they discover that then they kind of this investigation leads these people to an island in the East Indies where this mad doctor is doing these crazy experiments where he's experimenting on dead bodies, he's experimenting with real people, he's turning people into zombies, he's turning people into there's cannibals on the island as well. All kind of weird, gooey, crazy things going on. And these people kind of get caught up in it. And death and mayhem presumes to happen, happens. And yeah, that's the movie. Um, it's it's very violent.
It got a release from somebody else recently, didn't it? Because I know I watched this movie.
You did actually watch this movie.
Yeah.
You logged it on Letterboxd,
Yeah.
which surprised
I
me.
know we watched it for something else, so I know it's been like Blue Underground put it out or somebody.
Let me see. So what's it called? Zombie.
Zombie Holocaust.
So oh, it's coming out. It's coming out on September 25th, which is this week, on 4K in the UK. From 88 Films.
There you go. See,
That's got to be where you watched why
yep.
you watched it. So it's
I didn't
getting
want.
a
I honestly, it sounds like I didn't watch it on purpose.
yeah.
It was for something else. I knew I did.
Yeah, so that release is coming out, or you can wait for the Severin release, which comes out next month. so, depending on where your loyalty lies, or if you're a completionist, you get both, I guess. But this release, like I said, is coming with like 2 discs worth of special features,
Yeah.
which is a lot. Yeah, and the movie, like I said, it was called Zombie 3 for obvious reasons. Um, Fulci's zombie film I remember really liking that film a
Yeah,
lot.
it's good. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it wasn't called Zombie Flesh
It's
Eaters as well? That's another
maybe,
great
yeah.
title for that. What's interesting is I'm pretty sure these movies, Fulci Zombie came out in '79. This came out in 1980, so right around the same time. Hence why they would try to market it back to back. Um, yeah, so that's a Zombie Holocaust. And then the other movies here are interesting. So we got Count Dracula. Here we fucking go. We've got Christopher Lee as Dracula once again. For those of you who know, he was in a bunch of Hammer horror films as Count Dracula. That's part of his legendary career. It was that. But this is a non-Hammer horror film of the Count Dracula story, of the Bram Stoker Dracula story that many of us know, at least. It's been adapted so many goddamn times. But you know who directed this movie, Steven? Take a
Uh,
wild
uh,
guess in the
uh,
dark.
okay. He, huh. He
We
gets
talk
really.
about
He
him
get.
nearly every week now.
I was gonna say gets a Blu-ray release all the fucking time.
From everybody.
Uh, hmm. Jess Franco.
Yes, it is. You're
Oh,
winner
it was
today.
either between him or,
Jess Franco.
Dimitrik.
Yeah, I guess. But once again, Jess Franco is getting a release. But I mean, Severin has been putting out his work pretty consistently. Um, I just also want to point out that apparently they did put out I think they put out a Zombie Holocaust on Blu-ray back in 2016, and it came with a barf bag, and I'm pretty sure they're reissuing that barf bag with this release as
Oh,
well,
that's cool. Yeah.
which is kind of a cool touch. But we also, I mean, we'll talk about it. They have some packages on their website with extra goodies that we got to mention. But back to Count Dracula by Jess Franco. You may be thinking to yourself, "Holy shit, we got a Jess Franco Dracula movie. How crazy is this going to be?" Unfortunately, not crazy at all. Rather straightforward, which really not pissed me off, disappointed me a little bit, specifically because you have Klaus Kinski as Renfield. And I'm like, Klaus Kinski as this wild, crazy dude locked up in an insane asylum because he's obsessed with being Dracula's servant. It's gotta give me something here. And unfortunately, it didn't really give me much.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It seemed like the perfect role for Klaus Kinski to play, and you don't
wow.
really get much from it. It is rather a straightforward adaptation of the story that we've seen Bram Stoker's Dracula. If you've read it in school or just on your own, I mean, if you've seen the the, the Coppola adaptation, if you've seen other adaptations, you kind of understand the story. Jonathan Harker goes um, to Count Dracula's castle at the beginning of the story because he's got to work on some type of business deal, or Count Dracula's buying a house, and and
He's
Jonathan
getting
Harker's
into the
got to
real estate market, and
yeah, he's looking at the real estate market, I guess, and then so he's got to sign some papers. He's got to look over some things, and Christopher Lee, of course, is actually awesome in the role. Like, to me, to be honest, the best parts of this movie are Christopher Lee as Count Dracula, which should be no shock to anybody.
well, I mean, he
Yeah,
plays him like 1,000 times in his
yeah,
career.
exactly.
So
But he's
yeah,
Christopher Lee. His presence on screen is great. His looks, his stares, the way he's able to do the things that he does in the film is just really great to see. Um, and yeah, but you've got other people in the film. Herbert Lom plays um, uh, Van Helsing, and Herbert Lom, I know from being in the Pink Panther films around this time, coincidentally, and he's rather kind of dull in the film. Really, he as Van Helsing, I thought he would give me a little bit more to latch on to, but he's rather dull in the film. Like I said, Klaus Kinski doesn't have much to do. It's a rather straightforward storytelling. There's not a lot of Jess Franco over the top craziness in the film, which I was expecting. It's a little disappointing, but not
mm,
bad. But in in connection with that, I found they found the release after that, and I do want to point out that this Count Dracula release is getting looks like a 3-disc set, which is very nice. It is in 4K, with an HDR presentation, HDR10 presentation, um, and we got 2 discs worth of special features on here, including a 90-minute documentary. Holy shit, that's pretty damn long.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with me is like I really just kind of want to get this because um I have like all the other Christopher Lee Dracula movies. I'm like, I got to get
Yeah.
this, I guess, too.
It is a non-hammer, so it doesn't really have anything to do with those,
Yeah,
but
but
still,
still, he's
it's
still playing
Christopher Lee.
Dracula.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah, it's still a
Come
Christopher Lee
on.
Dracula movie. So
So the next thing we have is, like I said, uh, Vampire Quaticook or Quaticook Vampire and Umbraco, the double feature here. And these are directed by Per Portabella. And what these are unique, surreal, quasi documentary films. People can't see this now, but I'm making a very swiggling maneuver with my body here because it's a very odd couple of films here. Very surreal. Like by surreal, I mean they make like David Lynch films feel linear. You know what I mean? Like it's really interesting stuff. Think of if you're familiar with the works of Guy Madden and the way he would edit his films in this very surreal type of way, something similar to that. But what the connection here is, specifically with Vampire Quaticook, is that this director, Per Portabella, took behind the scenes footage from Count Dracula, the movie we just talked about, as well as footage from the film, and kind of edited it down, re-edited it in, and and put it in black and white. Took the dialogue out of it completely and gave us this surreal audio track of just weird sounds, and gave us this trippy version of the movie. No dialogue whatsoever, and yet you're just entranced by the film. That's what I want to say. And it is brilliant. It's just wild. It's only 67 minutes long, so it's not too long, and we get certain behind the scenes stuff. We get and then at the very end of the film, we get Christopher Lee talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula and the death of Dracula for like a minute, and he's reading the book Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's like this is so fucking surreal. I don't know what's going on, but it's amazing. Yeah, and it's kind of a video essay documentary piece, experimental piece. That's brilliant. But it connects directly to Count Dracula. And then the second thing here is the most one of the most surreal films I've ever seen in my entire life, and that is Umbraco. Umbraco is supposed to be yet again this kind of quasi documentary montage um thing where Christopher Lee once again shows up in here, and he's like walking the streets of Barcelona once again. No real audio track going on, no story whatsoever, just a montage of sequences. Some of it is like produced, some of it is documentary on the street stuff. None of it has a narrative whatsoever. It's supposed to be kind of a look or a thematic piece about Barcelona in the early 1970s. But there is one sequence in this film where Christopher Lee is on stage talking to people, and he's talking about random shit, and he starts reciting Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven from the top of his head. And I'm like, this is wild. I don't know what's going on. There were sequences also with people speaking in Spanish, and the version of which that I was watching had no subtitles, so I had no idea what they were talking about. But it just made that even more surreal. Like I was in a trance watching this in the wee hours of the night. Yeah, wild stuff. Two very experimental films. Not for everyone, obviously, as I've described, but damn interesting. Damn interesting stuff they got going on here. And you do get some special features here, where there's a Cinema of Vampires, Per Portobello, Jess Franco, and the School of Barcelona interview with Spanish film scholar Dr. Alex Mendibil. probably about these guys' work and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, interesting collection here of stuff of things. You've got two things that are very vampiric, um, you know, Count Dracula-esque stuff going on, and then you have zombie Holocaust. what a what a batch of stuff. But I do want to go over to Severin's site real quick because they've got some bundles, and the bundles that they have are interestingly themed with like extra goodies and whatnot. So they've got only the discs bundle where you just get all of the releases, which is I guess the barest that you can get. You've got Lee and Espana bundle, which is the Christopher Lee Count Dracula film, as well as the Per Portabella double feature. Um, and that just comes with those two films. And then you've got the Medical Deviant bundle, which is Zombie Holocaust. It comes with the T-shirt, um, and yeah, is that it, Steven? Does that just come with a
I think so.
T-shirt? Yeah,
Yeah.
a T-shirt of something that you may or may not want to wear in public. I don't know. It says Doctor Butcher on it. Um, who gives a shit? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
2023.
Who gives it? Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Bloodlust and Butchery, which you get everything in here. You get all the movies plus the T-shirt. Um, yeah, and you can buy the
Awesome.
T-shirt just by itself. So if you wanna scare your parents at Thanksgiving dinner, you know where to buy it. Beautiful. So that is it
Beautiful.
for Severin. That's some beautiful stuff.
Oh yeah.
So do you want to go to Criterion, or do you want me to talk about
Whatever else there is to
Eric
clean
Romer?
up before we get to Criterion.
Yeah, so these actually go hand in hand with Criterion, so might as well. So there's going to be two Eric Romer films that are going to be released on Blu-ray from Metagraphic Pictures, which is a company we don't really talk about. But I wanted to bring these up just because they're Eric Romer. Eric Romer's work is I've delved into a little bit because I've got the Eric Romer box set from Criterion, his Six Moral Tales box set. So this is the film The Aviator's Wife from 1981. A young student is devastated when he finds that his girlfriend is cheating on him, as we all probably would be. In order to find out why she did it, he decides to spy on her and her lover. Man, don't go down that road. Just let it
Mm,
go. Just let it go.
let
Let
it
it
go.
go. And then we've got Four Adventures of Renette and Maribel from 1987. Good year. These are both coming out in November, I think November 21st. Four episodes in the relationship of two young women, Renette, a country girl, and Maribel, a Parisian. The first one is Le Herbieu Bleu, which is the Blue Hour. Le Garçon de Café, the coffee shop's waiter. La Mondidante, Le Capitaine, and oh, I'm not going to say that word. It's just the beggar, the kleptomaniac, and the swindler. Le Vent de Tableau, selling the painting. So it a looks like vignettes, series of short
Yeah.
short stories here by Eric Romer, or short features here in one film. So that's really cool. I don't know much about Metrograph Pictures at all, actually. Um, but it looks like they put out very little. Actually, they've only put out looks like releases. Yeah, they only put out two releases, and they're coming out with three in um November of this year. The third one here, which is coming out November 28th, is another Eric Romer film, Boyfriends and Girlfriends. Is a lighthearted comedy of manners about two young women who meet and become friends until each one falls for the other's boyfriend. Damn shame.
Mm.
Happens. Um,
Well, I got the. I believe I got it. I might be thinking of a different. Didn't they put out a set for Eric Romer through Arrow as well? I think that's what I'm thinking of.
yes. Oh boy.
Yeah, I believe I have that Eric Romer set, and I've watched a lot of the movies actually, and they're pretty good. This might be a re-release of some of them, one or two of them movies.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Because I think that set probably also has what Criterion's put out as well.
yeah.
Let's see, Eric Romer, R Arrow. Yeah, Eric Romer. Was it called Comedies and Proverbs?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah.
Of course, when I click on the link, it doesn't take me to where I need it to go.
Well,
Oh, damn shame. Oh
one
yeah,
second.
the Eric Romer collection.
Okay, you got it.
It has the Aviator's Wife.
There you go.
It's
Yep,
got
that's it.
Full Moon in Paris, Green Ray, My Boyfriend's Girlfriend, uh, Four Adventures of Burnett and Maribel, which we just talked about. Yeah, this was an Arrow Academy set actually,
Yeah, I
put
have
out in
that.
2017.
Yep,
Hmm.
I have it. It's a good set.
It's got 10 movies in it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm slowly building my Eric Romer collection. So these three actually do fascinate me a little bit. But yeah, so kind of swinging directly into Criterion now. So we've got their December stuff, which is the last slate of the calendar year for them. What a year 2023 has been. So, Steven, what are the three films that we've got,
Well,
or
we
three
got
releases?
yeah. What we got here is so we got some familiar faces. We got the I think long awaited noir that I think people have kind of wanted to see an update for, and that's Blast of Silence. Um, this is one I remember. I every time I go to the sale, I saw this DVD hanging out there, and I was like, I don't want to get a DVD because the movie looks so cool, and I was like, now we're finally getting a Blu-ray here. It is getting a new 4K restoration in 2 aspect ratios. Yeah, this is one. I'm sure you've seen this one.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
that aforementioned DVD that you just
yeah.
mentioned. I'm looking on my shelf right now to see if I can find it. I don't know why it's not where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I'll take a look later. But yeah, Blast of Silence. I've owned this DVD for probably like 9 years. I posted a video on our or in our Facebook page of how I discovered the movie Blast of Silence. I actually looked it up today. I can't believe it was actually on YouTube. So like 9 years ago, Patton Oswalt, the actor comedian cinephile, was invited to the Academy to pick out to like look through their archives and pick out a movie film reel canisters to watch. And he picked Blast of Silence, and he went to the New Beverly and screened it just for himself and his friend. And he talked about Blast of Silence, and it was the first time I had ever heard of that movie. And I immediately went out and bought the DVD. So I've had it in my collection for 9 years, and I've been waiting for some type of Blu-ray upgrade, and here it finally comes in December of 2023. And yeah, it's a B movie film noir. That's what it is. And yeah, so swift, brutal, and black-hearted Alan Barron's New York City noir Blast of Silence is a sensational surprise. This low-budget, carefully crafted portrait of a hitman on assignment in Manhattan during Christmas time. So it is perhaps Stephen one can categorize it as
Oh,
a holiday film,
it's a
Christmas movie.
Christmas movie
Yeah,
because it's set at Christmas.
and it follows its stripped down narrative with mechanical precision, yet also with an eye and ear for the oddball details of urban living and the imposing beauty of the city. At once visually ragged and artfully composed, and featuring rough poetic narration performed by Lionel Standard and written by Waldo Salt, Blast of Silence is a stylish triumph. And yeah, it's good. It's 77 minutes long, super
Perfect.
fat, quick watch.
Perfect.
You've got some special features here that I think are carrying over. Requiem for a Killer, The Making of Blast of Silence, rare on-set Polaroids, photos of locations from the film in 2008. And then there's an essay here in the booklet, and that's it. It's rather low key. The 4K restoration, I'm pretty sure it's going to look tons of a lot better than the DVD, um, which is exactly what you want from an upgrade. I I'm very excited just for that. Just to just to go. I'm not right now. I'm used to going from Blu-rays to 4Ks, which is a jump in quality. It's not as crazy drastic as the jump from DVDs to Blu-rays were. Like that was night
Yeah.
and day. That was like seeing movies again for the first time. It was wildly different in quality. So I'm not used to that anymore. You know what I mean? So this is gonna be nice. I'm trying to see when Blast of Silence came out on DVD. Um, and yeah, apparently if you type in Blast of Silence, it or the Blast of Silence, it doesn't give you. But if you type in Blast of Silence with no the, it gives you it. So that DVD came out in 2008. So a
That's
2008
yeah.
DVD is getting a Blu-ray release in 2023.
Finally.
That's damn, that's a long time. But we've got some other stuff here, Steven.
Well, once again, it seems there's a partnership with Netflix, but of course we already knew they had a partnership with Del Toro, Guillermo del Toro. His most recent film, his version of Pinocchio, is getting a 4K release. Um, I believe it did it win best animated
I think it yeah,
feature?
best animated feature.
Yeah, won best animated feature at last year's Oscars. Um, very interesting. I thought it was okay. I'm not.
I
I'm
liked it a lot. I thought it
I
was really, really
it,
good.
I mean, artistically amazing.
Mhm.
It's artistically
Yeah,
amazing.
it's that, um, stop motion
Stop
animation that we
motion. I
both
love
really
stop
love.
motion. It looked fantastic. Just it didn't care. I mean, all the I didn't care for all the choices in the story. I know maybe it's more true to the original story. I don't know, but it was fine. It was definitely interesting. But
I thought it was
um,
interesting to set it in the backdrop of, like, Italian fascism,
yeah,
like, it being an anti-fascism film, which is very interesting. Um
for me, I guess I'm not like super into that story in general. Like the Pinocchio story,
hmm.
is just not one that I've ever kind of been interested in. And it's been done so many times.
It's
You
what
know,
is interesting about the movie, don't ask me why I'm making this comparison. Um, it's like Pokio. It's like Pinocchio through the prism of Come and See. Does that make sense
yeah,
to you?
no, it makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, because just the way in which they're describing it here on Criterion's website, um, you know, it says here, um, yeah, one best it daringly transfers the story to fascist Italy, where the irrepressible Pinocchio gradually learns what it means to be human through his experiences of war, death, and sacrifice. So through the hardships of going through these, traumatic events, he learns what it is to be human. What is interesting is in Come and See, through the traumatic events of World War II, this person, if anything, learns how inhumane humans can be. You know
yeah,
what I mean? If anything, it's the opposite, but it's the idea of like trauma and horrific events being the things that give you the experience to learn about life, really,
yeah.
whether it be positive or negative. In this sense, positive, and Come and See, very negative. But yeah, beautiful animation, beautiful character designs, and all that kind of stuff. And this is going to look amazing in 4K.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
this disc is going to look incredible. I just watched um Wally, the
Yeah.
4K UHD release that they did for Wally, and it looks incredible, absolutely amazing. Um, Obviously different animation styles and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic. Um,
All right. Well, this last one here is one where I'm very unfamiliar, but you said you've seen everything, so please tell us about the Red Balloon and
yeah,
other
the Red
stories.
Balloon.
Five films by Albert Lamorent. I can't speak. Lamorci. Or is that how you say it?
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
Sure.
that sounds about right. What is interesting is that this is considered spine number 1200, but the Red Balloon has been part of the Criterion collection for a very long time.
Well,
Um,
is any of the other ones numbered,
um,
or is it just one number?
It just says one number, it just says spine number
So
1200.
the set is its own
So the set
number.
itself is,
Is
I
its
guess,
is
spine
its
number.
own? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
While the Red Balloon
I
DVD has been around
guess.
for a while.
I guess. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the Red Balloon, it's to me, it's part of one of the essential Criterion collection titles. You know,
Yeah.
I talk about that all the time. Where Criterion has these essential titles that I think everyone has either seen or heard about or has been recommended. Like the 400 Blows and Breathless, Victoria's Secret's Bicycle Thieves, etc., etc. And the Red Balloon, I think, is one of them as well. What is great about this release is you not only get the Red Balloon, you get uh, other films in here as well. You get The White Mane, Bim the Little Donkey, Stowaway in the Sky, and Circus Angel. Now, I haven't seen all of those, but the Red Balloon is um, a beautiful, beautiful film. Only clocks in at about 34 minutes. So that's why I'm glad that they put more than just the Red Balloon on here, or else I don't know very many people who would buy just a
Well,
just a
they
Blu-ray release.
they have a don't they have a film in the collection that's like essentially a short film that's
Yeah,
got it?
they've got a couple. You know
Yeah.
what? There's that genre noir film,
Yes.
Day in the Country,
That's what I'm thinking of.
which I
Yeah.
think is like was it like 48 minutes long?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's super super short. But but that's actually one of the reasons why I don't own it because it's so short and it's just the movie. I don't think you get
much any. There's no features, I don't think,
yeah, A
on it.
Day in the Country, 1936, Jean Renoir. It's like unfinished film, and all you really get on that release is an introduction by Jean Renoir from '62. You get an interview with Renoir scholar. You get a video essay, um, and then that looks like an 89-minute 1994 compilation of outtakes from the film.
Yeah,
That's a lot. So you get all the footage that he shot that just
yeah,
never he was never able to complete and put in the film. That's
yeah,
kind of cool, I guess. um, uh, but back to the red balloon. So like I said, the red balloon is like 34 minutes long. And I'll just read what it says here because rarely has the spirit of childhood been evoked as exquisitely as in this Academy Award winning cinematic fable, a fantasy with texture of reality on the streets of 1950s Paris. A young boy played by director Albert Lamorris's son Pascal is launched on a miraculous adventure when he playfully pursues pursued by a shiny red balloon that seems to have a mind of its own until the harsh realities of the world interfere, setting the stage for a deeply moving finale shot in beautifully muted technicolor. This beguiling allegory of innocence and transcendence has inspired generations of viewers to let their imaginations take flight. And that is really the power of this movie is the power of imagination, the power of cinematic imagination, the
yeah,
power of cinema, if I could be so cliche and say something like that. And the movie is not, it's not about what's actually happening, it's what everything symbolizes, which is, I guess, could be a little pretentious to some,
I
Uh,
thought this movie based off the. I thought this movie was like an it prequel or something
I know with
with the
the
red balloon.
yeah, I get you. Uh, yeah, it's a beautiful short film, 34
Yeah.
minutes. It's available to watch on the Criterion Channel streaming service. It's available to watch on YouTube. Actually, you can watch it on there for obviously nothing, um, and and appreciate the beautiful artistry of what it is. The other stuff I've actually never seen, so I'm just curious
Oh,
as to
okay.
what all that entails. It looks like they may all be short films as well. I'm looking at some of the runtimes, and looks like they're all actually the Bim the Little Donkey is 54 minutes long. What do you consider a feature length film?
Uh,
Same.
once surpassed an hour, I think
That's
that
right. Yeah, that seems to be the
it's
mark for me.
yeah,
Um, and looks like Stowaway in the Sky is 83 minutes long, so that's a feature.
yeah,
Um, let's see, Circus Angel is 77 minutes long, feature length. So yeah, so you looks like you've got two short films and then three feature length films in this set here. Um, I'm assuming multiple discs. Yeah, two discs. So that makes a lot of sense. Available December 12th, and yeah, these are the last official releases of 2023 for Criterion, unless they surprised us with something.
well, yeah. I mean, typically December's a light month, but I think this is pretty interesting. Last
It's an
month of the year.
easy. It feels like an easy way to end December. I know
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
mentioned in the past that December is typically their less bombastic month. Like November seems to be a pretty,
It's a big,
event
usually a
filled
big
month
one.
from
Yeah,
them. No, that's their hammer month.
yeah,
That's when yeah, we got Mean Streets, Days of Heaven, Last Picture Show, that Jackie Chan um collection. Those are the November releases.
yeah,
Yeah, I think and then leading up to it, and that's not even including the Janus contemporaries, which are also coming out in November as well,
yeah,
which are essentially modern day Criterion films.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean they're not technically part of the collection, but they're Criterion in quality, if that's a thing.
yeah. Well, that is it for this week on Chasing Labels. Spy number 116. Um, 16 is my favorite number, by the way. So
I
I'm
did
glad
not
we
know
made.
that about you.
Yeah, glad we made it around to another 16 number. Um,
Is there a special significance behind it?
no, not really. I think it was a number I chose randomly as a young baseball player
Ah,
growing up, and that for some reason when I look at it, it just looks good, and
mm,
it just has always been my favorite number for no reason at all.
Do you play it in the lottery?
I've never played. I've played it a few times, but no, I don't play the lottery. No.
Okay.
I already waste enough money on movies.
Yeah, exactly. My
I don't
money
want to
goes to
start
the
giving
movies.
it to the state for no reason.
Yeah, I'd rather give it to the movies.
Yes, I give it
They
to
never
the
let me
movies.
down.
No. So, but Andrew, please let everybody know where they can find you to talk movies.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or X, as it's now called, at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
You can also find him over at our Facebook group. You can find, he's very active over there. So am I. Well, I'm not active of a lot, but Andrew's on there a lot better than I am. So go over there, join our Facebook group, join in on the fun. Also find me on Letterboxd, see what I'm watching. Like I said, I've been watching a lot of TV lately. I said that off camera. Been watching a lot more TV than movies lately, but you can also find me on Facebook. You can also find me at the other Chasing Labels pages, whether it's our X page or our Instagram. And you can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.